handle these stuff. Now, welcome to the conversation one more time. And I am saying we need to learn now and consider the, what's this, absorption costing method, right? How do you use absorption costing or traditional costing method? Remember, absorption costing and traditional costing are the same. It's just one and the same thing, right? That's the message we are sending. Please be reliably, informed. Absorption costing and the traditional costing is just one and the same thing. So in case you are in an exam, then the lecturer or somebody else asks, the examiner asks you to use absorption costing, or they say traditional costing, just know that they are asking for the same thing. And now what I'm going to do, I am quickly going to remind you and show you the format for absorption costing. And I'll also place an emphasis on the departure, or the points of departure, of absorption costing from marginal costing. So let's now consider this. I'm giving this format again one more time so that in case people forgot, they are able to remember. So when you're dealing with absorption costing, colleagues, absorption costing follows this particular format, right? This particular format. Actually, I can even put an inner column for computations so that there is just, order. So first of all, it starts with revenue, all right? It starts with revenue, and revenue is recorded in the last column, okay? Record revenue. Someone is asking, what is revenue? How do you come up with revenue? Revenue is basically the selling price multiplied by the units that were sold. I want you to pay particular attention on this one. Then from there, we less cost of what? The cost of sales, isn't it? We less cost of sales. And when we are deducting the cost of sales, we always start with the opening inventory. Pay attention to that. We always start with the opening inventory from the previous period. And once you open with you put the opening inventory, we'll need to consider direct material costs. It's just a quick reminder, by the way. Direct material costs. We want to find the cost of materials and the direct ones. So you add here the cost of where do you put it? Put it in this column, the very first one where I'm doing working, so that you're not confused. Yeah, I'm putting it like this so that people are always organized. Then from there, you can put direct labor cost. Direct labor cost, you can put direct labor cost. When you are done putting direct labor cost, of course, you can put the variable production, overheads, right? Variable production overheads, variable production overheads as well. Yeah. When you add the variable production overheads, the direct labor costs, and all that, you'd have done what we call the marginal costs, right? These are just the marginal costs in this particular, say scenario. Yeah, this is what you have. But they are not the only ones that we need, for us to come up with the gross profit. Okay, we also need these other costs. And what happens now is that you need to add fix the production overheads. And I'm emphasizing fixed the product, not just any other fixed production costs or overheads are recorded here, right? Fixed production overheads. Add everything. This is just a format. Add everything here. Whatever you have, the answer you put here. This is a sum of all these. When you add these, these are numbers. You add all of them down here. You you write the sum. Okay. Once you write the sum, you are going to go ahead and what are you going to do? You're going to deduct closing inventory, right? You can write it in full. Closing inventory from this sum. Now, closing inventory is always calculated, and I will remind you how to calculate it. It's basically the way how we learned last week in marginal costing. That's how it is done. But I will still show you how to do the closing inventory when we are doing the question. So when you deduct the closing inventory from this, the answer that you find is what you push here in the middle column so that this can be added to opening inventory, right? Now, when you add all these, listen, when you add that, right? When you add that, then you need to, add over absorption and deduct under absorption, and absorption is deducted. It has a negative. So is it under absorption, just to this figure, under absorption slash over absorption? I know you are asking, sir, what is the under absorption? What is over absorption? We'll tell you what it is. Don't worry, you'll see. We'll remind you what it is. Slash this one, the other one should be put in brackets like this. And once you do that, then you can add these two or subtract it, depending on whether you have under or over absorption. Then answer that you're going to find, you push in the last column, listen carefully, and deduct from revenue, all right? Deduct that from revenue. What you remain with is what you call gross profit, right? What you remain when you say revenue minus this figure here that you have found is what you call the gross profit. It is very important to try by all the means to write down these things that I am writing for you. It's very important. Okay. So we have the gross profit. I've written it on top just because of the what's this space. Are we good? Are we still connected? Anyone to just give me a shout, you're okay? Hello, are we still connected?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Please, let's see, always write down. So maybe just when we are still on this point where we are finding under absorption and over absorption, let me make this point. We will show you how to calculate this under absorption or over absorption, or maybe how to ascertain whether this is under absorption or over absorption. You get the point, eh? You will do that. And also fixed production overheads. Most of the times it's not usually given in the question, but we can calculate for it. You can do some calculations and then you should be fine. So I think that's the message I wanted just to send. We can continue now from there. Now, when we get the gross profit, it means we have already dealt with all the production costs, right? Or the factory costs. We got to less from there the non-production costs. All the non-production costs, they are also called factory costs. So you less non-production, costs. Non-production costs are deducted. And these would include the variable costs, or the variable costs that are not, part of production, overheads. They are deducted. Put them in the middle column next to the last column, obvious. And then deduct, these are variable costs that are not part of production. For example, maybe we'll give you an example. You'll pick it quickly. Variable sales commission, Sales commission, because We don't sell in the, in the factory. That's not where we sell from, right? And because we don't sell in the factory, therefore, variable sales commission qualifies to be called a non-production cost. So we put it there. Even fixed costs are put there, some fixed costs that are not production fixed costs, like fixed administration cost, admin cost, we put there, fixed selling costs. There are those fixed selling costs like advertising. You put them there. When you consolidate these, the sum thereof, you push in the last column and deduct from gross profit, so that what you can have is net profit or loss. Is that clear? This shall be net profit slash what? Slash loss. If it's negative, it's a loss. If it is positive, it is profit. That's that. So that's a simple format for the absorption costing. Just wanted to remind you by giving the format so that when we are dealing with the question, at least you are relating. It's just a simple format. Do I have any question just on the format before we move to the question right now? And I ask the class, please, to be very fast when we are dealing with the question. Do we have people with a calculator before we get to the question? Confirming that they have a calculator so that when I ask the question, I know that there are some people that are going to give answers because they have a calculator. Anyone with a calculator in the class?
I have, sir.
Oh, thank you. Maybe someone else has, right? Oh, the network is cutting. Is it cutting from my end as well, or how is the sound from here? Are we all good, well connected? Or do we need to make some adjustments? Someone to just quickly confirm, how is the sound? How is the connectivity from here, from our end? Can you see the screen? Can you hear me clearly? And then we can, get to move on.
I'm able to see the screen and I can hear you, sir.
Oh, thank you. I think we can just go ahead now and start doing the question. Yeah, let's start doing the question. Yeah. Anyways, to those that were logged out, there is nothing much that we've done. We've just looked at the format first of all, reminded ourselves on the format for what's this, for absorption costing, and now we want to write on the format and do the question. Okay.
Sir, kindly zoom the question, the screen.
Oh, okay. Let me just see, zoom. Maybe let me put it like this. How is it now? Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cholwe, you are welcome to the conversation. How are you, sir?
I'm all right. How are you, sir?
No, we are good. We are good.
Thank you.
Welcome to this conversation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So now let's start. Since we already have the format, I would want us to start with the workings first of all. I think there are some of the workings that are very key. For example, for under absorption and over absorption, how do you determine whether there is an absorption or over absorption? And also for fixed cost there, for fixed production costs, how do you work with it? But before we do that, anyways, I want to first, let's read the question. Let's read the question. Okay, sorry for that. The public limited company, manufactures and sells a single product. The following budget state and the actual, information is provided, even in relation to the production of this product. Okay, you can see the screen, right? So you have the details, and you have month for May and for June. This is the data that you have. Most importantly, fixed production overheads are budgeted at 4,000 per month. Is that clear? So there is a guide here that the fixed production overheads are budgeted at 4,000 per month, and are absorbed at unit basis. Now, they are absorbed based on units. So the normal level of production is budgeted at 400 units per month. So if we want to know whether there was an absorption or cost, the first to find out, since we are given the budgeted fixed costs, we need to know the actual fixed cost that we use in the production process. Listen, we need to know, for example, let's say we want to know what was really spent, the actual level of production or the actual cost that was incurred during that time, than just the budgeted one. So the difference, for those that may not really have it, the difference between what was actually spent and what was budgeted is what you call under absorption or over absorption. You have not gotten this? I'll repeat one more time. You see, when you are projecting production, first of all, you make your budgets, right? We're going to spend this much on this. And when the time comes, you are going to spend, right? That actual amount. You spend some amount. In practice, there is usually a deviation between the actual amount and the budgeted amount. You're following, right? So you always have these differences. It's rare that you'll have the exact budgeted amount as the actual amount that you spend. Usually you have these differences. So the difference between these two is what you call under absorption or over absorption. And this is how you go about it. Since you already have the budgeted one, then we need to look for the actual one, the actual fixed production overhead, and just check look at check the difference, find the difference, find the difference. Okay. So now let's go. What is the fixed production overhead? How do you find the fixed production overhead? That's our question. How do you go ahead and find the fixed production overhead? First of all, we are doing for the month of May. We already have the actual that it was 4,000. What was the actual fixed production overhead that was budgeted? We budgeted the actual one is 4,000 kwacha, but the rate, the budget that we are going to make based on the rate that we have is what we are going to call the budgeted. Okay, so how do we come up with that rate, right? For that we're going to use for budgeting. You just divide, basically, since they have said it's based on the units, the fixed, overheads, fixed production overheads divided by the units themselves, yeah? Divide by the units. So you have 4,000 in our case, divide by 400 units. And when you divide, this will give us the rate at which we are planning to absorb the fixed production overheads. Okay. So when you divide this into that, what do you find? 404,000. It should
10.
be
10.
Then
okay. Yeah, sorry, the network had cut. But at least we have already picked the message. I'm going to repeat the message that I'm trying to consistently send. Okay. Yeah. So let's go one more time. So I am saying we have established that the actual budget that we have was what? Was 4,000. But what was absorbed? What was absorbed was based on the rate, the absorption rate that we have. And according to this statement, the absorption rate is based on the units. So you just divide to find the absorption rate is the fixed production overhead, the overhead divided by, the basis of absorption, which in our case, units. So we are told that the units that are budgeted is just 400. So you are dividing 400 divided by the fixed production overheads that we have, which is 4,000. And that gave us 10, right? So we are saying that the budgeted, the budgeted work to be absorbed based on our rate was 10 multiplied by the units that were produced of 500, giving us what? 5,000. When you take the difference between the two, what do you have? You have a difference of, what is the difference? 1,000, right? It's positive even. Because it's basically the difference between the budgeted minus the actual one, which is going to be positive 1,000. In this case, listen carefully. In this case, this is going to be called the over absorption. Over absorption. You didn't pick this message. Let me repeat one more time. How do you tell whether this is an absorption or over absorption? It depends on the difference between this budgeted one and the actual one, right? When the budgeted, rate, when the budgeted overheads are more than, right? They are more than the actual one. Then you say there is over absorption. If the opposite is true, that is under absorption, right? Please pick the message. Usually when I am teaching this course, when I reach here, I usually tell the students to just use the word budgeting, not really in writing, just for you to easily understand. When you over budget, when your budgeted amount is bigger than the actual one, then that is over absorption, over budgeting, right? But don't write that over budgeting. Over budgeting is not official. It's not the right term that is used. But just to help you understand, in case you get mixed up, which one is over absorption now, which one is under absorption. When the budget is higher than this, that can be like, that can be called over budgeting. It's what you call over absorption. But when the actual amount is higher than the budget, under budgeting in our case, that is under absorption. That shall be under absorption. Okay. So in case of this question, we have an overabsorption of how much? Overabsorption of how much? Of 1,000, right? We have an overabsorption. So we have established we have an overabsorption. Okay, that's fine. So now let's go ahead and start following our format. Do I have any question? We want to start now putting the figures. These are just symbols for currencies. You could use kwacha, could use pounds, depending on what you have in your question. Oh, I've used the USDs. Really, these are pounds. The currency does not matter. Just follow the one that you have in your question. Eh? So since we are in this country right now where you are using kwacha, let's just call these kwachas so that they're not. Don't worry, right? But follow what you have in question. But I mean, I want to Zambianize everything, then you will be fine. Revenue. Let's start with revenue. How do you find revenue? We said revenue is found by saying selling price times what? Times the units that were sold. We are just doing for May. We are starting with for May. So selling price is what? Is 50, right? And the units that were sold is what? In May, units that were sold were how many? Are we even together? How many units were sold in May?
300.
300. So you say 50 times 300. What do you find? That should give you 15,000, right? Yeah, that gives you 15,000. And from there, you can less what now? Less the cost of who? The cost of sales. Less cost of sales. It starts with opening inventory. The question is very clear that there is no opening inventory. You have not seen that part. Let me just move down so that you understand. The question says there is no opening inventory for May. That's what the question says, which means that opening inventory shall be 0 in our case. And what follows next according to the format? I've just presented the format to you have it already, which is a good thing. What follows after opening inventory?
Direct material
cost.
Thank you. Directly, direct material cost. And in that case, direct material costs per unit is given as 80 here. 8 multiplied by the units that were produced were 500. So 8 times 500. What do you find as direct material costs? 8 times 500 units.
4,000.
4,000. Thank you. You write 4,000. From here, you add what? Direct labor, isn't it? Direct labor costs, which is 5. 5 times 5, the units that were produced, 500. What do you find? I guess you're not getting confused now because you have seen the format already. That's what I started with. What do you find?
2,500.
Is it the same with everyone finding the same 2,500?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Then variable production, which is the 3 times the same 500, should be 1.5, right? Thank you. Then from there, what comes next? The fixed production overhead. The actual one. The fixed production overhead. What do we have? Is 400, yeah? That's what the question says, isn't it? Fixed production overheads is 400. And when we find that, what did we say we do? We add everything, isn't it? We add everything, yeah? Yes, sir. We add everything. Let's add everything. What do we have? 4,000 plus 2,500 plus 1,500 plus 4,000 again.
12,000.
What is it that you 12?
12,000.
12,000.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I'm finding.
All right. 12,000. Then from
Sorry, sir.
there you can less what? Less closing inventory. Now listen. To find the closing inventory, we said just do it the same way how we did the under marginal costing, where we were saying, please, that mic which is on, I don't know. May we have that? Okay, let's go ahead. So we're saying the closing inventory is found by saying the units that were produced minus those that were sold, right? Times the cost of production. This cost of production, we have the 12,000 divided by the units that were produced. In our case, how many units were produced? 500, yeah? 500 minus 300 units that were sold, giving you 200. So it shall be 200 multiplied by the costs. This cost, the 12,000 that you have found, times 12,000 divided by the units that were produced being 500. What do you find? Can work with this quickly. That's how you find the closing inventory. That is if you are in the starting period, right? Since we are starting from May now, but you see in the next class, in the next conversation, when you're going to the next, when you're in the next month, like June, where we are having some inventory from the previous period, right? Where we have opening inventory. So you have to add opening inventory from the previous period to this difference. When you say, listen, when you say production units that were sold, or the units that were produced minus those that were sold, you should add those from the previous what period. Those are the units. Then you multiply by the cost of production times the production units. That is how you find the closing inventory if you are going into another period where you have the opening inventory. Okay. Now let's proceed. So what do you find as the closing inventory?
I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
How did you find the fixed production overhead?
How did you find the fixed production overhead? We are already given in the question is here. Fixed production overheads are budgeted at 4 per month. That's what we are given.
I'm not seeing it. On top or
You're not
down?
seeing it. It's here.
Fixed production overheads are budgeted at 4,000, right?
Yes, per month.
Not 400. Is
It's
that
4,000.
400 or 4,000? Okay.
It's 4,000.
Okay, sir, I'm clear.
Like 4 pin.
I'm clear.
Okay.
I'm clear. Thank you.
Okay. So what is the closing inventory? Let's do that quickly. What do you find as a closing inventory now?
4,800.
Sorry?
4,800.
4,000.
4,800. 800.
4,800. Everyone is finding the same. Are we all finding the same? 12,000 times the 200 divided by 400, 500.
Yes, sir.
You said you're finding 4,800 as the closing
Yes.
of the closing
Inventory.
inventory. Okay. So closing inventory, fixed production overheads. That's you said is 4,800. 48. Is 48. Then when we deduct that, what do we find?
7,200.
7,000 7,200. Hold on, just hold on a minute. We want to check. Just hold on a minute. Sorry, we want to check. I want to confirm which fixed production overhead that we put here. There is that other one. There is that other one when you are there is the absorbed fixed production overhead, and this one that we have budgeted, right? There are those the when we are doing an absorption and over absorption. You remember there was this actual one and the absorbed one. The actual one was for this 4,000, right? And so we also have had the absorbed 5,000. So let me just confirm one more time in under a minute which one we have to add here. Actual one or the absorbed. Just a minute, sorry. We needed to agree. Let me just confirm mine on. Okay, we are back. So we need to use the absorbed one. This one where we calculated with the rate. When we calculated with the rate where we said 10, the absorption rate times the units that were being produced in this month, it was 5,000. It was 500. So it gave us 5,000. So the fixed production overhead is basically supposed to be 5,000. Sorry for that. So get that as a lesson again. The one that has been absorbed, this one, is what you use as the fixed production overhead here. Then obviously your cost will change. What will be your new costs? I needed to confirm with that. What is the new cost?
13,000.
Just see. Sorry? 13.
13,000.
Yes. So then we can do what we had done. The units that were sold were 5,000 or 500 minus 300, that is 200, right? 200 times 13,000 divided by 500. What is the closing inventory? What is the closing inventory? Hello?
5,200.
100.
5,000. Thank you very much. 5,200. Yeah, this makes sense. So now when we do this, we would take the difference now. 13,000 minus 5,2. What do you find?
7,800.
7,800. 7,800. Then we said to this amount, right? To this amount, what are we supposed to do? We have to add the opening
Add
inventory, which will be the same. Then now we have to, what do we do next? We have to add the over absorption and deduct under absorption, isn't it? So in our case, we had the over. It was over absorption, right? That's what we established, right? We said there was an over absorption of 1,000, so we add it here. Is that clear? Are we all fine? Hello, what do you get? When you add those two, what do you get?
Eight 8,800.
8,800. Okay. So we need to deduct from the revenue. Less from what's this? From the revenue. What do you find?
To give us 6,200.
It gives you 60,200.
200. Yes.
Let's the what's this? This I'm confusing in the way how I'm writing. When you add these two, like this plus that, the answer you push in the last column. This you said the sum of what is this? Opening inventory plus plus this difference is 7,800. Deduct first from the deduct this from revenue, then we add an absorption. So 15,000 minus 7,800, giving us what? 15,000 minus the, yes.
So what you're saying is after finding
You
the
add
total,
this, then their total you push in the last column, deduct from the what's this, the sales revenue, then you have a figure. To that figure that you find is where you add, that's where you add the overabsorption, because we don't want our absorption to be deducted as well. We are adding it. It should increase the profit, isn't it? Overabsorption should result into the profit increase, not really into the decline. So
Okay.
deduct that, yes, deduct 15 pin minus 7,800. What do you find?
Seven two.
It's a 7,200. All right, 7,200. Now this 7,200 is where we can add that over absorption of ours, which is 1 pin. We can add that so that we can get the gross profit. You get you get the point, eh? Like this over absorption increases the profit, then under absorption reduces the profit. That's the effect. So you can add these two. I think it should be 88 watts. 82, yeah? Because this was just 1,000. That's a gross profit. Now from the gross profit, it can easily less all the variable production or variable non-production or non-factory overheads. So let's less all the variable ones. So profit is 82. Less the non-factory costs. So we can pick all these costs that are not part of the factory. Eh? For example, we have the fixed selling. The fixed selling. Eh? This is a fixed cost. Fixed selling. How much is it? It is 4,000, right? It's here. And we also have fixed administration. Fixed admin is 2,000. Then variable, the variable sales commission is part of the non-production variable cost. So it's 5% of sales revenue. Our revenue was 15,000. What is 5% of 15,000? We said 5% of 15,000 is what? Sharma?
750.
750. So we add these. We add these, and the sum should be 6,750. We deduct this from the gross profit to find the net profit or loss. What do you find as the net profit? What is the net profit? Just the difference. 82 minus 6,750. What's the difference?
1,450.
1,450. Thank you very much. So that's that.